I was like, can you look at my current reports and can you, instead of making me feel all healthy because my reports were fine, everything was good, it was more about like, oh, you're 40 plus. Oh, you're 40 plus. Which I understand is a good enough concern, but I knew where this is going to go.
This is the Birth Agni podcast, the fire that brings us alive, that burns myths and opens a channel of authentic natural birth stories. This show debunks the many myths of the medicalized births, showcases the plethora of choices a pregnant couple can make to embark on their empowered birth journey. I'm Divya Kapoor, a certified birth and lactation counselor and an aspiring traditional birth attendant. Let's get the flames blazing high.
Ever heard of the term geriatric? This means old people in the medical healthcare industry. Geriatrics refers to medical care for older people, adults, an age group that is not easy to define precisely. Gerontology is the study of aging, including biologic, sociologic, and psychologic changes. So this is what I got from Google. If you Google it, that's what you get. Ironically, women over 35 are often referred to as geriatric or old and often frowned upon and questioned. They are judged and considered high risk even without symptoms sometimes. And women buy this, oh, I'm over 35, oh, I conceived late, oh, maybe I have weight issues and maybe I'm too petite. There are so many judgments women carry about their bodies in and itself or themselves. And then medical science, which is not individualized care, often plays on those fears than reality of whether or not you and your baby are really doing well or not. I would call this bias because 35 is not really old age. You don't refer to women at 35 as old. In fact, we have begun understanding that women in and around 35, 30 are wiser, are more independent, are stronger. They are lifting, they're exercising better, they're taking care of themselves, they're eating better. There's so much that women are doing far more better at this age. There's a level of awareness that life brings for each one of us at this age, and there is peace with that. Today, we are hearing the story of Shilpi, a photographer and co-founder of the wedding photography firm Story Monk, which she runs with her husband Kailash. Last year, Shilpi became a first-time mother at the age of 42. And in this episode, she shares her beautiful journey of birth, the doubts, the care that did at one point call her geriatric, and the preparation along the way. This was a birth which was straightforward, and I have had the honor of being their support person in this. And this had a lot of firsts for me as well. The first birth with a meconium, the first birth where there was a true knot in the quad. So there were a lot of firsts for me in this birth, and you'll hear the story along the way. Many of you asked how you can support the podcast better. Thank you so much. A good way is the donation route, the links to which are in the show notes. There are 2 slots left for my exclusive private one-to-one childbirth preparation classes. If you are looking for support in your birth, look no further. I'm happy to support you. Check out the brochure from the website www.birthagni.com/birth classes, and you scroll through, you will get to the section of request brochures. Request them directly from there, and you can book a discovery call with me. I'll be happy to talk to you and see if we are aligning and we both are on the same path. Thank you so much. Let's dig in now. Hi Shilpi, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And you had a home birth last year, which is very much around this time. Your son Raj is going to be 1 very soon. So it's a very close, it's just a experience in the recent past. So we wanted to know about your birth story, about the entire pregnancy. How did you feel? And especially, how did you arrive at the decision of a home birth?
Hi, Divya. I'm so glad that finally we are getting to do this, because it's almost 11 months since my birth, and I took quite some time to find this space and time to reflect and talk about it. Yeah, so for me, home birth journey started a few years ago. Basically, I had come across some Zoom session a few years ago, and this lady spoke about home birth. Yeah, so basically, she had her first two births in the Kochi Birth Center, and then the birth center in Goa. And I was a little keen on also having my birth in one of those places. But for me, Kochi was turning out to be really far, since I live here in Rishikesh. And then even Goa, for me, that was not a practical decision, simply because my birth date was in August, monsoon, and I knew that to uproot myself for at least 45 days or more from my home comfort was a lot. And even for a family member to come or my husband to come along, because I did not want to travel for 45 days after birth. So I decided on home birth. I came across a midwife. This was again just like, I guess I had it in my heart to go for home birth. And so I came across Tapasya. And sadly, Tapasya was moving to Sri Lanka at that time. And through Tapasya, she gave me the confidence to work on this more. She said, because this was just the initial few months, and she said that the more I will read about it, the material that she will send, I will be more prepared, because there are so many things that we've never heard about. I've always experienced a birth of anyone in family or friends in a very clean way, like, the baby is out. Nobody has ever shared the story with me. So for me, I was wondering what happens during birth. I have never ever witnessed a birth around me. And so she gave me that confidence, but I still had a lot of anxiety around it. And slowly she started doing one-on-one sessions. And just in a couple of I think her first session, just before her first session started, she also told me about you, that you're a birth keeper and I should connect with you. And we instantly connected. For me, I knew that I have to have you when I'm birthing. So I definitely felt very clear about this coming through. Yeah, so pretty much this is where it all started.
Yeah. So, how was the birth preparation? How did it help? Because we talk about birth.
Sorry, I also want to add that I knew because of my, like, I want to talk about that I am 40 plus, and I knew that if I'll go to any hospital, they will push me for cesarean. Nobody was giving me clear answers, right? Because I was not even getting my scans done and things. Also, when I found out that I'm pregnant, I reached out to someone who took a session with me. She basically prepares you. What is that term?
Lamaze.
Lamaze, yes. So she does Lamaze sessions. I did not know what is Lamaze, and I thought that she is someone that who is going to help me with my birth. But she took a session. She's a very respected Lamaze educator, Mrs. Nutan, and she told me that if you've not had a scan, see if you can wait it out for your first trimester. And I was absolutely fine with it, because I just trusted her wisdom. Also, my mom had said that, during her time, they never got it done in the first 3 months. So we did that. After my first trimester, almost when my fourth month was over, I went for just a heartbeat test. I was in Hyderabad. Now again, Hyderabad has a natural birthing center, hospital, and I was very sure I wanted to have my baby there. But I came back to Rishikesh, and I just realized that it's a very impractical choice. And then I got in touch with Tapasya. In the meantime, I went for my first scan, and I had a lot of questions which the gynac did not want to answer. And I knew that this is going to head towards a cesarean simply because I was already 40 plus by then. I was 41 when I was pregnant. So for her, that's the first thing she highlighted. And so for me, it was becoming clear that intuitively, I did not feel very happy about a hospital birth. So it had to be a natural birthing center, or it had to be at home, because I was very sure that birth does not need cesarean unless it's a medical emergency.
Yeah.
But yes, because I'd heard, because I in the first 3 months I spoke to my mom about it. Thankfully, she had a very happy birth story, and she spoke about the birth she had witnessed at home. So that gave me a lot of hope in the fact that I can think in this direction. And of course, my husband, thankfully, he was really supportive. He did not question it or doubt it. He said, it is your decision. So however you think it's safe, is the way to go for it. And this is how I started pursuing this whole journey of preparation and planning and finding the right people to help me with my home birth.
Yeah, lovely. So this doctor was this doctor in Rishikesh, or was this doctor in Hyderabad itself?
So the first doctor was in Hyderabad, who was actually really nice. So the first one where I had my only heartbeat tested, she was actually really nice. And that hospital also had doulas, and I could take an appointment directly, midwife, like from them. The one in Dehradun, she is the one who could not answer my questions. For her, it's like, you're asking too early. I'm like, it's almost my 5th month starting. If you think that I cannot have answers to certain things, which means that it's I could not understand why is she not answering.
Yeah, and what were those questions?
So I think those questions were about what is the percentage of C-section in your hospital. It's known more as a nursing home, but it's the most reputed one in Dehradun. So she did not have a number for that. She told me that from 38th week or 36th week is when I will know if if it's all going fine. The number of scans she told me to do, which was very weird. It was almost like once a month you have to come, you have to scan. There was already, I could see, like she would, for her it was okay to put a certain fear in my head instead of answering my questions, because she was constantly dodging them. She even told me about her story and how she had it, at 36th week, and I could not understand why was she sharing certain facts. So for me, every time I asked her who is going to be present during birth, so she said, oh, one of the staff members, they're all equipped. Even the setup was so cold. When I checked it out, there was something very disheartening about it.
Yeah.
And for me, I was just actually very depressed after that. And Kailash was like, he didn't know what to say, because I was like, I'm not coming back. This is not happening. So that was the first time he understood the seriousness of it. I said, it's not going to happen here. I still kept doing my research after that. Someone said, go to Max, go here. I was in touch with this doula, a midwife, a qualified midwife who was also traveling during the time I was due. And she works with a hospital as a midwife in Hyderabad. So she was the one who recommended like some gynac and things. And she was surprised after I told her about my experience. Yeah. So, also they were like, okay, you'll have to take this vaccine. I don't know in which month.
Yeah.
To me, I was like, can you look at my current reports, and can you instead of making me feel all healthy, because my reports were fine, everything was good. It was more about like, oh, you're 40 plus. Oh, you're 40 plus. Which I understand is a good enough concern, but I knew where this is gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just knew it intuitively that this is gonna go in a direction which I do not want. And during birth, the last thing I wanted was to argue with doctors and nurses about like, oh, I can wait it out, and oh no, you have to go for a C-section. I'm like, I do not want a birth in that kind of an atmosphere, because I'd heard about a few friends, who are induced during birth. I'm like, I do not, even if they don't want to, there were just so many things that I'm like, I do not want to give birth in that kind of a violent, for me, that was really violent, wherein your heart is saying one thing and you are being forced to like follow something else based on a medical reading, which comes as per their medical training. So, yeah, so that hospital visit kind of made it clear for me that it is not going to be in any hospital. Simultaneously, I kept doing my research. I was like, but maybe there is some hospital in Delhi who believes in natural birth, water birth. And I have a friend who from Austria, and she was very surprised as at the way things are followed in this country. And she also helped me do a lot of research. And so she told me, she said, yeah, keep a hospital as a backup if you want, but if you go to a gynac, please ask certain questions. Tapasya had also told me to ask the gynac, or she said, even if you're like gonna have a midwife, please ask her these few questions. Some questions really surprised me. So I was concerned if I'm taking the right decision, but somehow home birth kept coming up. And then when I came across you, and I remember you said that you may have another birth closer to it.
Yeah.
My heart sank. And I remember following up like, hey, what happened? What happened? And then you came back and you confirmed that, yes, around my dates, you are available. And I just knew it. I'm like, okay, this is it. My search for anything just ends. And I have to just start preparing for home birth through the materials that you and Tapasya started sharing. And yeah, so this is how pretty much started.
Yeah, yeah. With the ultrasounds with Nutan auntie, what did she tell about the ultrasounds that she wanted you to postpone it? And pretty much after that, I think you had no ultrasounds. After you started care with me, there were no. We don't do any ultrasounds, so there wasn't anything that was required. But with Nutan auntie, how did she explain to you about the ultrasounds and with the information that you got?
Basically, she just told me that your first scan, I mean, you have just conceived. It's so tiny that the laser beam or something, she said that can really interfere and damage the development.
Yeah, yeah,
And and it coming from such an experienced person, I believed her. And I immediately went like, oh my god, my mom also said that in the first 3 months they never used to get it done. So and then she told me, then you can go for a scan. And frankly, after that, because she was a Lamaze educator, she had told me about Tapasya and everything. Then I stayed in touch with Tapasya. And when I went for my first scan in Dehradun, it's a very reputed place. It was recommended by the gynac in Dehradun. Everyone was shocked that it's been 4 months and this is my first proper scan. Even that assistant, whoever, gave me a look like, why is it your first scan? They were like questioning it in a way of almost like anger. And I'm like, I don't owe you any explanation. I was like, yeah, please just give me an appointment.
yeah.
I don't know. And after that first scan, frankly, I was not even very comfortable. Like, yes, I wanted to see, and I think I had tears when I heard the heartbeat the first time in Hyderabad. But during the scan, nothing really. I'm like, oh, and like a few things. But that heartbeat, the way that had made me cry, the scan never really did. I was happy to see, okay, yes, there is, you could, because it's 4+ months. So, just to see on the screen the movement and things. But I think the baby had turned, so he couldn't find something he was looking for. And I told him it's hurting, right? Because then they press and things and all of it. Yeah. But of course he couldn't believe the fact that this was my first scan. So again I had a few questions, which again he was not very I just found all of these experiences also very cold, at least in this part of the country.
Very judging to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, let's be done and let's move on. Because I just knew by then that anyways I'm not coming back, right? It's like, I don't see the point of it. And so this is what she had told me about the scan, the first one. And with my first experience, I was like, okay, I think I can wait it out. Like, I will see if I want another scan. What followed next was, before the scan, I must tell you, I was in Delhi and I was, staying with a friend, and a very sweet friend of mine. And she was also shocked, and she said, but do a proper scan, right? You need to find out about a few things. There are, it's, I think, to do with Down syndrome and things like that. And and I remember Kailash was like, yeah, maybe we should find out. I said, but for me, I was very clear. I said, even if we find out, I am keeping the baby, right? And that decision also scared me. And then my friend from Austria, she was also pregnant at the same time, and she has a medical background. So she told me, she knows, she has a few friends who told me that the babies will have Down syndrome but had a normal baby. And they spend the entire pregnancy thinking about it. Like, these are the things that come to your head, right? The reason you want to go for the scan is simply because you want to know, is everything okay? Is the baby fine? Is the development fine? So, I felt I was getting the right information from from you, from my other midwife, and from my friend. And every time I was reading the material or watching the birth videos, the first birth video came as such a shock to me, because I did not know that's how it happens. So that's another story. It took me a while to like sink in. I'm like, oh my god, is that how a baby pops out? Like at squatting. That was the first one, squatting. And I showed it to Kailash, and Kailash was also shocked. Because we've all seen these Bollywood versions, right? Or heard of a C-section. So, oh my god, we were like, is it that quick? Like it just popped out. So so those were shocking videos. I had to prepare myself to watch more and more of it. And so the next phase was definitely about, with a lot of anxiety towards how this will all go, to have my one-on-one sessions with you and my other midwives, so that I can just be really prepared. Because I know that it's not that when the time of birth comes, it'll all just happen, right? And I need the right guidance towards it. And so this is how it pretty much rolled out for me.
Yeah. The reason I asked for ultrasounds is because it's such a norm to start your ultrasounds at 6 week. Most women don't even realize that they have a baby at 6 week, and and by the time some women come to us, they've already had a few scans done. And it's true, ultrasound waves the research is now coming out, and just with x-rays, a few decades back, x-rays were used to check the women, the babies and the pelvises, whether the baby will fit through or not. That was so damaging. It did kill babies back then. Ultrasounds definitely are safer than that, but they're not without risk. And it's not an information that's easy to find. And you were guided in a good way, that you found Nutan Aunty, and you found all the right people to guide you. So it does displace tissues early on, and sometimes too many ultrasounds at the beginning can be harmful. Yet ultrasounds do not have 100% correct, like the results are not accurate. So much so that a baby might be diagnosed with a Down syndrome and might not have it at birth. So it's such a huge shift. The weight sometimes comes out to be too big or too less, and then the baby is absolutely fine, absolutely healthy. So there's caution to it. And of course, sometimes when we want to know something, even we and midwives do recommend it. But if it changes our care, for example, you would wanted to keep the pregnancy, it doesn't mean anything to you to know something that may or may not be true. So that's a wise choice to go through. From here on, how did the prenatals go? How did all the other things go? And yeah.
So basically, I think in this was 2024, we had the hottest summer in like 40-50 years in Rishikesh. Everyone had warned me that you're going to feel very hot in pregnancy. I had not started feeling hot till like summers came, and I could not believe how hot I felt. So in Rishikesh, there were also a lot of power cuts. So sometimes my sessions were scheduled and there's a power cut, and I'm like, I cannot sit. Yeah, and I would suddenly feel very sleepy or drained. But, my midwife, she was very planned. I think she knew better. So basically, I had two people. One was my online consultant, Tapasya, who had moved to Sri Lanka. So she said that I will only like kind of guide you through. And on the day of the birth, I will come either on the camera to watch or, guide if you need my guidance. And my main birth keeper was you, Divya. So when Tapasya started with the sessions, I think she knew better what is going to happen. So she would straight off jump into starting a session, right? Like all the pregnancy, a little bit of melodrama that I would have, 1 minute of it, but she somehow knew how to bring the focus back and be like, okay, Kailash, okay, Shilpi, this is how it happens, this is what happens, da, 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 da. And we're sitting, and sometimes I'm like dozing off, and she's like, she's falling asleep. I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, go have water. And I would, because I want to have that session, and especially because I knew Kailash and my timings to match it was difficult, and I wanted him to hear it, because on the day of the birth, I know that he's not the kind of person who will go through written material. Yeah, so I was shocked about things. Half the session would still go in dealing with my anxiety about some things I have never heard of related to birth. Or what if the baby's head is up, things like that. And she was like, we will come to that. It is okay, it is normal, it is fine. Because I'm like, what if this, what if that? She was like, so she kind of knew how to address these questions. And then soon after, you had started sending all of your materials. We had sessions with you. So anything, and I like the kind of understanding you both had. You did not repeat what she had already taken us through. You were covering, other topics. You knew that it's difficult for me to keep sitting through sessions. So you were sending me different kind of materials. And because we had met, I think we also landed up meeting. So for me, I felt, I don't know, I felt like I'm safe. I'm in the right hands. Prenatal was a very up and down journey for me. I could not talk about it to a lot of people simply because it was a home birth choice. So I only had this Austrian friend I was speaking to, because whoever I was talking to took it as a challenge on their own decision of having a hospital birth, which was never the intention. And I was surprised sometimes at how they would be like, but that's not safe, right? So my prenatal journey also came with a lot of like, this decision is not a safe decision, and they all meant well. So for me, then we were told, do not talk about it, do your preparation. And just, and for which made a lot of sense to me. So I had stopped talking about it. I would give hints in subtle ways, and anyone who was supportive of it, I would talk to that person only about it. Like my landlady over here, who is who was very happy to hear it. She was someone who said that I should definitely go for home birth. and with a lot of optimism. And I was actually very comfortable with that. Like, I wanted to speak to people who were encouraging of this. So I would drop these subtle hints to see. And if I would get a nice, happy, positive response, I would talk about it. Otherwise, I did not bother sharing this with anyone. Right. And yeah, so a lot of, I'm like a part of this WhatsApp group. There were things people were discussing, like there were questions they were sharing from their experiences. There were so many things that were being shared. I would read it sometimes. Honestly, I would otherwise just ask you or Tapasya to just like actually take me through the sessions, because anything that was bringing a doubt in my head about it, I would just put it away and I would address it straight to, like, I would just bring it up with you or her. That's it. Like, and my Austrian friend, I'm very grateful to her, simply because I just knew that if I ask anyone else, it would just go in a very negative direction about home birth. So I didn't want that to happen. And for me also, prenatal preparation came with, like, I would do, my food habits were very good. I ate a lot of healthy food at that time. I'm generally a healthy eater, so I stuck to it. I ate things which were giving me more nutrition, and I ate only till my tummy was full. There was no overeating, nothing, eat for two people, all of that. I went for walks regularly. And also, yes, I found a very nice yoga teacher at that time who was helping me with prenatal yoga. She is based in Hyderabad, so we would have online sessions. That was very important for me to do prenatal yoga. That also helped me prepared. And she knew that I'm going for home birth. So, yeah, this is pretty much how
Yeah.
I was preparing for, like, this is how the prenatal journey was.
Yeah, yeah. And then how did when the time of the birth came, what were the things that happened? You had a bit of bleed, like a bit of spotting here and there for a good amount of time. Like say some 10 days you had a bit of spotting before the onset of labor. So that was interesting. And it was always an alarm. Okay, it's going to happen, it's going to happen now, but it's still taking time.
Yes, oh my god. Yes, I was like, so around my birth, actually, because we live in Rishikesh, my bigger concern became if Divya will make it on time. And because we have Kavar, which starts over here, and because of which the roads get blocked, and that goes on for almost 2 weeks. So that became like a bigger concern. The spotting started. So I thought, okay, this is it. For me, one thing I was worried about is that my labor goes very fast and Divya will not make it. Right. Like, I would tell you, and I was like, what will I do? And you were like, it's okay, the baby will pop out. I'm like, and then what? So for me, my mom was also not coming. She's like, no, it's fine. I will come closer to the date, closer. I said, but I think I'm close to the date. And she's like, I'll come. I said, oh my God, no one's taking me seriously, is it? Yeah, so the spotting, and then Kailash was like, I'm very sure it'll happen when Kavar is over. Monsoon is gorgeous here. The whole land is clean and quiet. I'm like, I hope so. I wish. Yeah, so frankly, I don't remember much of that phase. Maybe you remember. I somehow I feel like it was also cool and smooth, but I know it wasn't. Also, you told me to have a hospital backup, and I kept pushing it. I'm like, no, there's so much traffic, because pehle Char Dham Yatra traffic on road, now Kavar traffic on road. I said, I can't go all the way to a hospital stuck in traffic jam, because I had to pee every 15 minutes. And I'm like, God, I can't. Like, the car will be stuck for hours in the traffic. I'm not going. And you kept reminding me, have a backup, have your file ready. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it and whatever. And I remember then on the just 2 days before our birth, I
Yeah.
mean, you came here And then you left, and then I didn't want you to leave. I was like, just wait it out now till my birth happens. And you were like, yeah, you have a few days. I remember taking a walk with you on that green grass, talking about, I don't know, other random things in life, trying to make myself feel lighter. And then you were like, okay, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. And I was like, oh my God, I hope I can convince her in some way to just stick around, and you left. And I'm like, and so for me, it just, something stopped me from going to the hospital. And 2 days before that, I remember I was like, what if seeing the hospital, and because of that anxiety, my labor pain kicks in or something, these guys will just admit me, right? Like, so I was like, okay. I remember you sat there, and then you were like, should we, so then you should go. And I'm like, now I can't go, simply because I think something will happen and they will keep me there, right? And they're trying to save me and everything. So you were like, okay. And then we found the number, we called them up, the hospital close by, and they said that I do not need a file and I can just come in an emergency and they will admit me, right? Like, so we were like, great, we're sorted. And I was so relieved.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't even know now how long my labor pain lasted. Like, for me, I remember you had given me a nice massage before you left. I was so relaxed, and there was this nice music. And then when a few days later, when it actually started, I woke up vomiting. I threw up. It was all over the place. It was disgusting. I just threw up. And I think you knew, okay, this has started. Like, usse morning mein I had eaten so much, like khalo khana khalo. And 2 days before that, it was my neighbor's son's birthday. And her mother said, you know what, whatever you want to eat now, Shilpi, because after birth then you can't eat anything. And there were samosas then, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll have the samosa. And I was like, great, I had my samosa, like, and 2 days later, I think it all just started. I woke up, or no, 8th, this happened 9th, late afternoon.
9th, it should be 9th because 10th Raj was born.
10th Raj was born, or I think 10th afternoon I vomited because he was born by
No.
10.
Yeah, probably.
He was born at night. So basically, I vomited, and then anyways, I was, I was getting those cramps, or I don't know what was I calling it at that time. So you were like, okay, if they get closer, do tell me, like, if the time gap reduces. So I think it had started 2 days earlier, no? I don't know.
So when I came in, you were still pretty much in warm-up labor. The labor hadn't started. It started that evening when I came in with your parents.
Huh.
That was the evening it started. So I was still skeptical. I was like, probably it's still gonna take a couple of days before it sets in. But a part of me intuitively was like, I'm not leaving before this happens now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you told me that.
I said
also.
that I'm here and it's gonna happen. And I just felt it's gonna happen. And I think because it has been happening for so many days, probably I was like, and you felt it, but it was still the warm up stage. It was pretty much almost because you were absolutely fine. And when I came in, it had stopped for some time. You're like, it has stopped. And I was like, wow. And yeah, and then that evening it started intensifying. That evening, very evening, it started.
Yeah. And then in the morning, I was kind of more resting.
Yeah, you were resting. You slept through the night. I came and checked you. You were sleeping. You were feeling the contractions, but you slept, which was a very good thing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Now I remember. And you also told me, you gave me a comb and you said that, just squeeze it
Yeah,
because your brain will, it's to do with pain. So I
yeah.
kept, with that comb, I kept squeezing it. And yeah, then next morning, I think I had breakfast, and then later afternoonish, I vomited, like, and that's when Kailash went to call you, or you were here. I don't remember when I vomited. I suddenly woke up and I'm like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
I
we
wasn't.
were
I
like,
wasn't
you were like,
downstairs. I was still upstairs in the room, and you.
yeah, I think then he called you, and you're like, okay, it's starting. It started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were in labor. Hmm.
Yeah. So I think सुबह से थोड़ा थोड़ा चल रहा था. Active labor started, and yeah, and then it started.
Yeah, by afternoon you were. It was pretty early on. It was nice. You were talking in between contractions. You were taking them, and they were coming and going. You were taking a pause. Then post noon, it amplified. I remember it was
Yeah.
5 p.m. and you were like, I can't sit anymore in the bed. Up until then, you were
Yes.
fine. You were in the bed. You were all by yourself. You were fine. 4ish, 5ish, you were like, I can't sit in the bed. And then you started moving. You're like, fill my pool. And we were like, okay. Now it's like pretty much in the active stage. And it was still like, it was intensifying. And then, yeah, we usually know that it still can take 5, 6, 7 hours from here. So it took 5, 6, 7 hours. 10:30ish. So I think that was the time. 10:30 some. That Raj was born. And how did you
Yeah,
feel?
10:15.
Yeah, how did you feel the contractions then when they were active and you were trying to move? You were on all fours. You were. Do you remember?
Yeah, so of course that I remember. I was, you was talking about some bird stories, and I was like, how can people be on all fours? Why do they? It's, and you were like, yeah, but I'm like, yeah, and I didn't even want a water pool, and you were like, just have it because it helps you relax, ease the contraction. So that is why I arranged for it so last minute. It was very it was intense every time, of course, those contractions came, and by evening it became really strong, and I wanted to film it. I remember Kailash had not set up the camera, and he went to get the camera. I'd been telling him for a few days, and I said, do not move, because there was a way you were trying to relax,
Yeah, I was giving you a back massage. It was a hip squeeze. I remember that conversation between you and
yeah.
Kailash. Yeah.
Yes, and Kailash, you taught Kailash, and so then he was like, "Oh, let me get it." I was like, "No," because every time I was getting contractions, that was really, really helping. And you had told me that it doesn't happen through screaming. Get rest, get sleep in between. It's absolutely fine. So that is what I was focusing on. Um, and then I thought I was screaming, and you were like, "No, no, you're just growling." I didn't.
You weren't
For me, I was like,
screaming.
am I screaming?
No, no,
I
no.
was like, am I screaming? Because I don't want to put the wrong pressure on you. You were like, you told me that I'm not screaming, I'm just growling and it's fine. And you would even, you kind of repeated how to let it out. You can give me a few sounds. And so, yeah, we were here. Thankfully, my mom was very supportive at that time. She did not interfere even once. She did not get scared or anything like that. And she was not around me. She was either in the balcony, or because I remember I was a little scared that if mom will see me, she may get scared and paranoid and things like that. And mom anyways also believed that the mother should not be around during birth, so I think she was also avoiding it.
Yeah, she was sitting outside.
And
I remember she said that I don't want to watch it. Yeah.
exactly. And then the pool was getting deflated. It had a hole, so every time I was being a little careful in the pool, and Kailash would pump it again, and the sound of that pump was like actually really disturbing. So but then I was like, there's really nothing we can do, because that water was soothing. You kept checking the temperature of the water, if it's if it's warm. And it was very relaxing, surprisingly relaxing, and I was very sure the birth will happen inside the pool because the contractions were very strong. um, and I remember it was my decision. First I was out, and And then the gym ball didn't work for me. It just did not. I had that also around. I was like, I need to step into the water. So we went, and it was like, okay, the pool was deflated. So he quickly like refilled it. That went on for a while. Then came my local daima, who was arranged as a backup for me, also so that she can witness it and I do not have birth certificate issues. And she was like, "Ye kya kar rahe ho? What are you guys doing? Get her out of the pool, nikalo isse." And she was a really elderly daima, and she is like, "Just get her out." And and I just turned myself, I just turned my back towards her, and I was just facing the wall of my bathroom because I did not want to see that. Thankfully, you and Kailash and my mom handled her really well. She was like, "Bed pile towel, let me check where the baby's head is." Put my fingers inside her, and I was like, "Koi leke jao inhe, please." And then you guys managed her really well, and she was calm. And you even told her, she was like, "I don't know, what are you guys up to, kya kar rahe ho," and this and that. And then you even told her, "Just wait for some time, she's about to birth, it will happen." Because I think she came around 8.
8. She came in around
And
8.
yeah, and she left by 9:30 because she
9:30,
knew ki
right before the birth. Even though we did request her because the baby was just there. The head was about to come.
yes, but she was thankfully sitting quietly till then, because I stepped out of the pool. No, I was tired in the pool, and I stepped out of the pool. I came out, and she was just quiet. You shut the door. She did not interfere. She knocked and came. That is something you noticed about her. Considering she was a village ka daima, and yeah, and you said, "Aap wait kar lo, wait it out." Bas, she's just about to birth. She was like, "But I have to leave. There's another birth I have to get to." So yeah, so she left, and then I was on the bed, and I was on my knees and holding Kailash because my legs kept slipping. And I'm like, "Oh my god, why are my legs slipping?" This plastic under the bedsheet is a bad idea. And yeah, it started progressing. And then I think anything that a doctor would scare you with started happening, which I did not realize, which you could see. And I think you had started timing yourself and things like that. And for me, I was just focused on, I kept telling my baby, "Take your time, take your time." And then on the bed, at some point, I said, "Please, ab aaja." Like something like that. "No, please, ab aaja." Like, and you all laughed, right? And I'm like, "Please, ab now come." Like, because I just couldn't take it anymore. It felt like I have to poop. I kept asking you, is that how you feel?" You're like, "Yes." By the way, also, it took a lot to prepare myself for the fact I may poop while birthing. Like, you are so comfortable with it. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I could poop while birthing." And when that is happening, when you're birthing, you're in labor, you don't care. Like, I remember I said that, you go through enema, the doctors make you do enema before birth. And I told my Austrian friend, and she was like, "Why? What?" So that she was the first one I told, and she was like, "No, why?" She said, "Oh my god, is it because a woman can poop, but that is their job to just see it? Like, it's why would you make her go through enema during that stage?" And then I spoke to you about it, and you were like, and Tapasya, and you were like, "Yeah." And that was, by the way, one thing. So I thought that was a cleansing process or something, but I remember Tapasya had told me initially only that when you find the birth keeper, the first thing ask her, Shilpi, is she okay with seeing poop while you're birthing? Is she comfortable with that? I was like, "Okay." She said, "Please, first thing, that'll speak volumes about who she is." I said, "Okay." Oh, and then later when I told my friend about enema, and she was disgusted. She was like, "Oh my god, this is just too much. Why would you do that?" So, my faith in the birthing medical system was like really zero, and she would help me with the research. So when all of this was happening and coming through, oh my god, and somehow the kind of song I wanted to listen to was playing, that it was a bhajan, right? I mean, I am quite an atheist. At that time, there was this very nice, meditative, soothing bhajan that was going on. That happened, and you were so calm. Kailash was trying to be funny. You told him, I said, but I don't want to laugh. Like it's not funny. And then you told him finally, you're like, Kailash, don't joke around right now. And then, yeah, he took you seriously. And I kept slipping. My legs kept slipping, falling apart. And then when I said, bus ab aja, and all of that, and then I think eventually, then you checked and you said, this is meconium. And yeah, let's give it some time. And I don't even remember what you said, but I just knew that now the birth is going to happen here. There is absolutely going to be no hospital emergency. And you were timing it, everything, like that fact also, that you prepared for it, that you're not going to be like yahi karo nahi ye wo kuch nahi. I just knew that this is going to happen here. And then I think you saw the head and you were like, Shilpi, feel. I could not leave Kailash and feel because I was slipping. I could not explain it to you. I said nahi, होने दो जो चल रहा है आप लोग. You and my head, I'm like, you guys feel, man, like let him pop out. Then I'll feel. So yeah, I was and then, oh my god, it just happened. The birth took place. He popped out. I remember you could see, and you had told Kailash to catch him, but I think last second you decided that you should catch him because, of the angle and the confidence.
It's just a split second thing. It's a reflexive thing. So I wait for the husband to just go and catch. And if the husband doesn't seem prepared, I reflect. It is a reflective thing then. Okay, I don't think so. You're ready to. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll just, there has to be somebody.
Exactly, and that happened. And even before, like a few minutes before that, I was telling Kailash, Acha, put your phone on recording, at least have this on phone. He's like, हाँ, set kar diya hai. Later, he's like, oh shucks, that didn't get recorded. Right? And you had told us the timing, you will have to keep a check. Thankfully, he saw the time. And yeah, all of that like just happened. Then that happened so quickly, right? Like it was, and once he was out, I mean, I've heard so many stories about and I've seen, right? Like I've seen so many videos about like when the birth happens and you take the baby and the baby latches. Like first thing, I had imagined it like that. He will latch. And I didn't know what Kailash's reaction was going to be. For some reason, the first thing he checked was male or female out of his curiosity. And that was just so funny to me. I said, did you just do that? For me, I was like, okay, he has to be pink. The baby has to be pink and breathing. Those were also the things you had prepared us for. Otherwise, that mouth to mouth, or if that meconium has gone in, you have to suck it out. And Kailash always doubted that. And he was like, Shilpi, if you can't do it, I will do it. Right? I said, okay. And I knew that'll happen, right? Like he's not someone who's disgusted by certain elements of the body. So for me, I was like, okay, we'll see. None of that had to be done. And so he was born, and I always thought he'll come covered in white. He was, I think, covered in meconium and red and all of that. And, that particular moment, I don't know. I think he was wrapped in a towel, or no, he was given to me, and yeah, I mean, I held him to my chest, and and he did not latch. I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm laughing right now, but please, I was like, he's not latching, like baby's not latching, like, and I was like, is he pink? You were like, yeah, he's pink, and things like that. And so after a moment of relief, that was something which started. But I was just like, I don't know what happened for his feet, but I was just relieved, happy. I was overwhelmed. Like, it was just like, I don't have a word for that experience. And I was shocked to see the amount of just generally the blood and everything around me, right? Like this is home. And like I said, I've visited friends in hospitals who've had birth, and we've gone like a couple of hours later, and what everything's so clean, sanitized, and everything. So, and I remember you were cleaning and Kailash was cleaning and things like, none of it felt as disgusting as I imagined. Like, it just felt like so natural, a part of it, you know. And to see my baby also covered in it, it was so fine, absolutely fine, you know. The only thing that got me worried was him not latching, because I was so positive about it. I just knew that'll happen. Yeah, so I do not remember. I mean, I'm sure I held him, and I don't know if I cried, what happened.
Yeah, you guys had your time. So I left the room after, which is what I usually do. So if we've seen the baby's doing well, the baby cried. He came out, he cried. So there wasn't any breathing difficulty he was breathing pretty well. The meconium was nowhere in and around his face. It was just on the back. So pretty much he had pooped towards the end because there was no poop in the blood before. It was towards the end because I was checking you. I was like, you had pooped a little. And I was like, then where's this poop coming from? Is this yours or is this the baby's? But when I saw it in the blood, and I was like, okay, there's meconium, and that's the moment I told you that there is meconium, and which is what should happen. Parents are prepared for the very reason that if there's something that they know that there's something that will be done. So at that time,
Yeah.
I said I'm going to check the heartbeat, and at that time, it's hard for the mother to stay still for me to check the heartbeat. But you're like, yeah, fine, do check the heartbeat. We checked the heartbeat. He was doing well, and he was anyway. The head was almost out. So I was ready for if any resuscitation, anything was needed, which was not required at all. He was absolutely fine. You did something which was beautiful to witness. You did the postural drainage, which is holding the baby head upside down to allow excess fluid or anything which is in the baby's mouth or lungs to come out, which is what you did. So I was like, so your preparation was thorough. You had done the preparation. It was wonderful to watch you. You held the baby in your hand and got the head down to allow everything to just release. You did it.
You know, I don't remember this at all.
That's the first thing you did. The moment you held the baby, you held the baby. So from Kailash, the moment I caught the baby, I of course gave it to, I think, Kailash, or you picked the baby between the two of you. And then you did posterior drainage. And then a few things that I noticed was so you were tired through the labor, which is what most women are, but you seemed very red. Your face was very red. You were sweating, and I gave you a towel on the head and the back, so your body temperature regularizes. And after the birth, there was no tiredness. You were fantastic. It's like, I can do anything you want me to. You know, do I need to go and use the washroom? I can go and use the washroom. I can do whatever. It's fine. I have all the energy in the world right now. And it's a moment that we ensure that you at least get warm water and honey, something to rejuvenate yourself immediately after birth. So we did that. I don't remember it was warm water or honey or whatever it was. It was something sweet to give you to bring, like, to have your energy levels leveled. And that's what happened. And the good thing was, meconium was just towards the end. And I remember you said, like you were saying now, everything about the birth was something that you would have been scared for a surgery because there was a knot in the cord as well.
Oh, yes.
So when we checked the placenta and the cord, there was a knot in the cord, which didn't, a tight one. It didn't move at all. It wasn't. So usually there are two kinds of knots. There is a true knot and a knot that can move and slide over each other. That's the knot we're not worried about. A true knot is the tighter one. It was the tight knot. But how we get amazed at birth is sometimes things seem that there'll be a problem, but the body just functions and finds another way. And in your case, the circulation was absolutely fine. The baby's heartbeat was absolutely fine throughout, which are great indicators that the baby's doing well. So he was doing well.
Yeah. Yes, and then I remember you guys got back to me saying that because of that he was underweight, because my placenta was very healthy and he was just 2.5 kgs, and that's the reason he did not latch, because his
Oral development.
yeah, his muscle was not that strong, and so which is I had express feed him and things like that. But that was the reason he didn't latch. And yeah, this is something Tapasya came back to me a day or two later. And yeah, very clearly I was told, feed him, he'll be fine. And yeah, I mean, I can talk about that whenever you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can do a postpartum session separately. But one of the things I want to add here on the feeding part, sometimes babies don't feed right at birth. They also need to learn, and the mother also needs to learn. It is a natural process, and some babies do it. So I had a baby who was like, I know this. You, as a lactation counselor, she was like, get off the way. I'll just latch myself. So when I helped her latch, she removed herself from the latch, and she's like, I'll latch on my own. Some babies do that.
Aw.
Yeah, but some babies need help, which is absolutely fine. In your case, I think he was tired as well. So sometimes babies are really tired. He did latch once in the beginning and twice. Twice after when I helped him and you were lying down. So you were trying different positions.
When you were helping him, yeah.
Yeah, and he did latch the second time as well. So I wouldn't say he wasn't latching, but he would get tired after that. Which, of course, the weight
Hmm.
could be a thing. Sometimes they're tired post birth, so they go into a 10-12 hour recovery period. So the 10-12 hour recovery period can be a lot of time. And with meconium, it's important for him to breastfeed to get that meconium out. And he was pooping anyway. Breastfeeding is very, very essential. I had this mother, the last birth as well. The baby developed fever very similar to your baby. And thereon, also, feeding was important. So and the baby didn't latch. And this girl is 3.4 kgs. And she didn't latch
Oh.
in the beginning, yeah. She was happy latching on her fingers and her thumb. So every time she wanted to latch, she would latch on her hand. So I had to push the parents to, keep trying through everything. Keep trying, keep trying. She'll latch. It's okay, you have milk. Keep trying. Express feed. Same thing, but feed as much as you can. So dehydration can lead to fever as well. That's something that can happen. But yeah, baby's just a few days later, I think on the fifth day, you messaged us that he latched, which was wonderful.
Yeah, so basically, now this is something that we need to talk about in depth, because I realized soon after. Again, this was something I was told, that you don't immediately start, the breast milk doesn't start. What are those, that initial bit? What is it called?
Colostrum, but you have breast milk. That is breast milk. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's just few drops. And because I was express feeding, my mom was like, this is not enough. And I'm like, oh my God, but I know that it is very limited in the beginning. And that is something, one thing that I did not follow my intuition was to have a breast pump, right? Like somehow I thought I should get, you also told me, keep it as a backup. I don't know why I asked a friend, and then they were like, no, you don't really need, why do you need, whatever. And that is exactly what I needed. And being in Rishikesh, that was such a story getting, and someone said I'll send it from Bombay, and that courier took forever because it was then 15th August weekend, because of the 15th August weekend. And we got a hand pump, and it was so painful. And yeah, oh my God, the changes my body went through after that. Like I remember my nipples were bleeding, and you were like, it is okay if it's going into his mouth. Like I'm like, oh my God, there's no milk, it's bleeding. They had become like dry, not dry, dry. And because of the manual pump, it was just, I don't know, the way we were going about it, or we pumped extra because my mom's like, that is not enough. And there was a count you had given us, and I don't know how I understood it, and I was like, no, this is not enough, till I messaged my friend, and she said, listen, and who is like super healthy, who had a baby who was 4.5 kgs, I think. She said, Shilpi, even I got my milk on the fifth or the sixth day, the proper flow of it. And that is when I told everyone around me to just be quiet. I said, stop messing around with my head that this is not enough milk, because this is exactly the right amount of milk. And that's why it's not even called milk, right? Those, it looked so nice, goldenish dew drops, like, thicker. And so we would pump, and we would feed him with little spoon in katori. And but I kept, again, very intuitively, I was told by you and Tapasya, that keep rubbing the nipple on his nose and then put it in his, try to give it in his mouth, because because of that smell he will connect. So just like that, on the fifth morning, I told Kailash, and Kailash is like, no, when you do it he cries. I said, just give him, let me just try. and
Yeah.
and he latched.
Yes.
Like, he just latched, and I was like, oh my god. And for me, I think I was lying down, like, it was such a comfortable way of feeding. And thankfully my mom never doubted that or things like that. Like, that's again another story of feeding. Oh my god, the kind of doubts they will put in your head, or people who would find out that I'm not sitting up and feeding, or how should the baby's head be, otherwise milk will go in his ears, and all myths. Okay, at least put your hand under the baby, it's nothing. I mean, almost 11 months, still breastfeeding and things like that, nothing has happened. Like, feeding time is a very happy time for him, for me. So it was, you had prepared us so much around breastfeeding. I remember the last session in person was around that. There were things, but I think you can never be prepared, especially
Yeah.
if the baby is not latched. Because I was so sure he will latch that I was like, I don't need to pay attention to what she's saying, it's okay. But I was just listening, right? And I'm like, oh my god, I wish I'd heard her clearly and things. And I knew, like, again, I have the right guidance. You guys were never paranoid about it, and you made it, you were like, it's okay, it's normal. And the one thing I wish I had right next to me, and what helped, was the automatic pump.
Breast pump. Yeah.
Yeah, because the hand pump takes a lot of effort, and my mom was not letting me do it. She said, you're weak. So Kailash would sit now in the middle of the night or something, and you can't turn on the AC, because after birth you have to be in this hot warm temperature. They, like, pretty much boiled me up. So he's pumping, so that led to a lot of stress. Like, a day or two later, after that fever, and I remember, yes, the fever, right? Like, you were in touch, you had left, and throughout the night you were in touch with us. You were answering calls and replying. And this time it was Kailash's intuition more than mine to not take him to the hospital. And I took forever in packing. And in that packing, I don't know what happened, and even I was like, something changed, and I'm like, okay, let's not take him. You, for some reason, also said, see, if it's dropped, just wait it out. And because he was not latching things, there was just so much anxiety that night. And I remember express feeding and removing it on the spoon, or one drop, and Kailash wouldn't let any drop fall. Like, it was just, yeah, that was post birth. There was this full energy, and you remember, there was this glow, and everything's possible, and things like that. And then a day later, after you left, and a day or two later, 2 days later, I think, you gave him that first bath. And later, when the fever picked up and everything, yeah. And since then, thankfully, you had given us a list of a few homeopathy medicines, nothing to eat, just to apply on the forehead and everything. Some of them we didn't have. Again, a mistake I made. And I would really request everyone to take this list very seriously. It doesn't cost much to keep these things ready. It saves you a lot of pain and last minute arrangement of things. And a breast pump, Borrow and keep if you want, but just keep an automatic one. Again, saves you a lot of time, and it's just easier on your breast because your body is coping with a whole change. And I would definitely, I don't think that bleeding would have happened if I had that automatic pump. But thankfully, I had the right guidance and nobody was getting paranoid about it. Or even Kailash is not the types to be like, oh my god, what is happening? None of that melodrama was happening. So we were all tired and anxious about other things. That the fact that, oh, it's not enough milk, till I had a major breakdown and I just told everyone, just be quiet, this is more than enough milk. That changed everything. Like, you have to really growl and own it, because I'm like, there are two people who are telling me this, who were very involved in my birth, and a friend who's telling me this, who is talking about her from her experience of her second birth and her medical experience and knowing certain facts. I said, you guys can possibly not be right. And yeah, I think that helped, because otherwise, starting formula or any of those things would have happened. you know
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah, for the breast to not get to the stage of producing.
It's very important to just stay put for the first few weeks. Just work with the challenges. It's just a couple of weeks, is what we say. 2 weeks for sure. You will have challenges. And when we navigate that phase, everything becomes better. I'm not saying easy. Postpartum is not easy, birth is easier.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
definitely that. And I understand, I think there's definitely this myth out there that women don't make enough milk. You saw that there was colostrum we were expressing. We were expressing every hour or so we were expressing, because I could see that he was dehydrated. And I left you with a note as well. I think from the train itself, I was writing that ensure that you're feeding him, and you were
Yes.
like, yes, we are expressing and feeding. Yes, of course, that's hard work. Expression is not easy. You need somebody to help you. But having that knowledge also helps, because then if you don't have anything, you have something to rely on by the time you don't. So any sort of knowledge doesn't, it always helps. Like, it adds up, it builds on things. It's so important. And I think by the time he regained his energy, he was pretty much good to go. And when they are hungry, they're very impulsive. They're like, get it to me now, or I'm gonna cry my lungs out.
The kind of sounds he made, I'm like, okay, that's like when there's some little wild animal. I'm like, I used to laugh. I'm like, oh my god. you know okay, that would always amuse me, like, in spite of all the pain. And then once I recorded it and even sent it to to Tapasya, and I'm like, is this normal? She said, yeah. I'm like, it's like one little wild animal baby who was cluster feeding, right? So that happens so often to me. It was very funny, like, these things used to really amuse me. My body was in a lot of pain, but this was just so funny to me. They are just, that is all they want.
Yeah, that's all they want. They want the mum, the breastfeed, and that's it. That's all they thrive on. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to, at this point, we're pretty much close to ending the episode. I want to ask you, if you have to summarize your birth experience, how will you do that for mums listening?
It was beautiful. It was just unexpectedly beautiful. It was so soothing. The comfort of home, the right support, all my anxiety towards it, once the labor pain started, it started vanishing. The focus was on birth. We all, as a mother, you know, wish and hope for a healthy baby. That is something that kept coming to me. I kept talking to my baby. I could do any of that only because it was a home birth. Just the calm of home, it was just very comforting, very empowering, because I was allowed to follow my intuition. And I keep imagining, because of this, how my next birth will be, because it was such a beautiful experience. I've already forgotten the labor pain. Beautiful. Like, it was just a very, very, it was a very empowering, and oh my God, I'm feeling so emotional. It was beautiful. I couldn't have imagined it any other way. As much as I thought, where will this birth happen? In the sense, I knew home, but should I do it in Delhi or should I do it here? And I wanted it to be in nature where we live. It was just beautiful. Like, it was, any birth must be beautiful, but the fact that I was allowed to be, the fact that I could be in the pool or walk or be on all fours, and I just had support around me, supporting me. It was just, I just can't find the word, but it was so supportive, and it was just very empowering. Like, I started for some time, like, I do believe a mother's intuition is the strongest, which was reminded to me every time throughout the preparation by, both my midwives. And it was just, it was beautiful. I don't, I wish, I will look up for a word to express, but a very, very empowering experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful to witness as well. You were very intuitive. You were doing what you wanted to do. You were on your knees while birthing. You were holding Kailash. You were upright. This is pretty much how you birthed. And I remember at some point the local daima said, she told me when I went out, I think to get some water or something to drink for you, and she told me, get her on the back because that will make more space for the baby to come. And I was like, no, that will reduce the space. I was like, okay, you do watch this. I so wanted her to witness this because that would have been transformational for her and for her clients as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful to witness. So thank you so much for having me as well, for trusting me with my experience. I mean, it was my second birth. So yeah, thank you so much. It was lovely to work with you.
Thank you, Divya. I mean, everything fell into place majorly because of you. The fact that you were willing to travel at that time to another city, because I know it's a very time consuming process, and you are responsible for birthing, the life of the mother and the child. It was very, very courageous and very brave of you to agree. And of course, like you said, the baby chooses who will birth him or her, and things like that. But I am so grateful that you were available and you made it on time, and the way you encouraged me, and the way you've kept in touch, even days after that. That was a big concern for everyone who said, okay, even if it's home birth, what after that? Because she will birth and go away. I said, but not her. I said, she's not going away. She will be with me for, at least 2 more days. That's how it works. And she will stay in touch. And that is exactly what happened. And even till date, like, I know if there is anything, I so easily reach out to you, and you're giving your inputs. So I mean, the reason I'm feeling so happy and confident about even thinking about my next birth at this point, at this age where everyone's like, but she'll be already 43. Why are you thinking? And I don't know, like, that confidence and faith also comes because I have you around, right? Like, it has a big role to play in it, because I don't think any time you guys brought it up with me, oh my God, Shruti, but you're 42. Like, that did not happen. Like, I remember I had to even correct, no, but by the time I birthed, I was 42. When I was pregnant, I was 41. So it's it's I feel it was possible because I could connect with the right people. And when you really when you start, I think like any other dream, you start working towards it, you start connecting with the right people. So I would tell everyone that please, you will be anxious throughout. Any birthing mother is. The rare ones may not be. Till the last second, you may think like, is everything gonna go fine? There's so many things as a mother to be mother that'll run through your head that you can't even talk to about people. But when you start working on it, when the right people start connecting, you realize how good and safe home birth actually is. I told all my friends these are the modern midwives, birth keepers, you can call them what you want, who are who prepare you but are also in sync with the medical emergencies. It's not that they are gonna be stubborn about it. So I am in safe hands. I trust them, and that trust comes from within. And of course, a major role is about the family, if they're supporting you. And like I said, I did not share this with most people simply because I did not want to be discouraged, questioned too much, or doubted. Because a couple of times that happened, I was told and I followed it, and that saved a lot of time and energy. I did not see anything negative about birthing at that time. Because anyways my classes were preparing me for it. I told everyone that we are preparing for it. There are so many classes, so many sessions that have happened, so much of material that has been given to us. It's not that we are just sitting around and we're like, okay, home birth. It needs preparation, you know. Like some people want to know more about it. A lot of them I've seen are not interested for whatever reasons. They do not want to know what the journey was. A lot of them come to me and like they say that this is very courageous of you. And I told that it really took the support of the right people for this to go through. And if I wish every woman gets that support, because home birth is just so beautiful and comforting.
Yeah. Just to
And
address
just the comfort of your home,
the aspect of risk
you
and
feel
safety
so
in
safe.
birth. No matter where you birth, the certain amount of risk that there is, that is the risk to life that is everywhere. So even if you birth in hospital, if a soul is not to survive, may not survive. But there
Yes.
has to be skilled support, even at home. And if you need to transfer, all those aspects need to be taken care of and need to be discussed thoroughly during the prenatal session so that everybody is prepared. It's not that you just get into it without the information, without the knowledge of how to take care of things. And that's why like you guys prepped so much, and that plays a huge role. So that sort of an understanding is also very, very important when we get into birth, either in the hospital, at home, or a birth center, wherever. You can't deflect that responsibility onto anybody, because eventually that intuitive space for birth, which is the core of it, should come from the woman. And you were intuitive at numerous places where you made the decision what felt right to you. I think that was from the very beginning. Throughout, you were like that. And that's what is required for birth, to listen to yourself, no matter.
Yes, absolutely. And the only person I wanted to believe in this, apart from, of course, my husband, was my mother. And she was somehow strangely a little comfortable with it, although she kept telling me that maybe I should like still like the right hospital for it, until she met you. And she thought because I kept using the word, yeah, she's a daima, like, because she doesn't understand the word midwife. Now she does. And she was so prepared to see this old woman coming through, and you walked in and she was like, oh my god. And that changed. Like after that, not even once did my mother say, like it helps because you're meeting them, there's nothing to hide, any questions that you have. And she just knew that, okay, Divya knows about this, she knows what she'll be handling. And she was shocked to see how educated, modern, this hip woman walking in. And yeah, she was the so it's surprising because people have an assumption about a certain personality or things, the kind of research, the modern traditional birth keeper, but with a modern approach. I don't know how to call it. They are doing so much research, constantly enhancing their knowledge, how resourceful they are. It's surprising. They have an answer to every question. Not once did you or Tapasya dodge any of my questions. Nothing was vague or random. That in itself builds a lot of trust. So please feel free to reach out, to ask, to have someone even to consult online to start preparing for it. And I'm very sure you will find the right birth keeper, the right midwife, doula. You have to start. Once you start, it starts falling into place. The journey is full of anxiety, but I do not know any mother who did not go through that.
Yeah, wherever you birth, you have that anxiety until the.
Exactly. So, but at least I had that faith that no unnecessary drama of a medical emergency for C-section will be created. And if it is needed, I was always told to have a backup, So I knew that it was very difficult for me like I said earlier, it was difficult for me to explain this to someone who was really against it. And but for and I used to wish, like, I wish they could just ask these questions to Divya. She will address them. Or, because you guys have the answers. Because sometimes I was asked questions about things which probably I did not anticipate because I had not gone through the birthing stage. And now if they ask me, I can address. But it just puts you in a lot of, sometimes you doubt, sometimes you're wondering. Because, I mean, frankly, just my mom, just like I can count them on my fingers, the number of people who supported this. And also, I'd like to be honest, we shared this only with my side of the family and not my husband's side of the family, not for anything else, but because we believed in this decision and we did not want it to be challenged.
Yeah.
So it was actually as simple as that. So you start taking the decisions, like the intuition and your experience of life, relationships, anything, everything is just sometimes because of hormones amplified during pregnancy. There's a certain protectiveness that as a to-be mother you start feeling. And for me it was a very inward journey, those 9 months, a lot of self-reflection. I remember I was barely on the phone with people, things, because I guess subconsciously I was preserving this energy towards mental preparation. So, and yeah, so we will talk about postpartum. That is something I wasn't prepared for. That is something, please, that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah.
But I would tell anyone who is thinking about it, please reach out to Divya to start with. Please reach out, just start, and you'll be surprised at how resourceful and she is, and how much she knows, and that it's as risky or as safe as a hospital birth. But definitely this one comes with a lot of comfort and mother's intuition.
Yeah. We follow the mother, we don't follow the protocols. And
And I've experienced that.
yeah, I think we never ever spoke about your age. I think it was just once you told me, and that's it. We never ever discussed your age.
Even the fact that Kailash was super supportive. I remember you and even Tapasya had warned him that, Kailash, at that time, if Shilpi feels anything or she doesn't want you around, you have to walk away without taking it personally. Right? So if I didn't want to hear jokes or there was anything, you were like, and not at one point I was told to be quiet or to be calm or anything like that. I don't even know. I don't think I was getting that angry or anything. But I remember you looking at him and be like, do not joke. So I'm just saying that it was all about me. I don't want my mom around because, she may get scared and all of that. It was ensured. Like, there was nothing about ki, oh, but, and this and that. Like, like no pressure. Nothing. You want to be in the pool, you don't want to be in the pool, wherever you want to be, however you want it. You want a uni massage or not. You remember? I'm like, no, I do not want everything. Like it was about me, ensuring that whatever I want happens. You do not want to touch the baby's head or feel, all right, that's fine. Nothing, no judgments. Like I did not feel judged at all for any decision I was taking at that time, which I think again is the opposite of again what can happen in a hospital. I was not being induced anything. The fact that I knew none of it was happening to me, right? Like that was also very comforting. And so it was about me, it was about giving priority to my needs at that time. And it is just a very uplifting, empowering experience.
Thank you so much, Shilpi, for doing this together. We will sit again together. We'll discuss the birth of placenta and postpartum in detail.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. This was great.
Yeah, thank you.
There is a field beyond fear, where the body is empowered to take on labor and birth. To land there, it is crucial to take birth education. To enroll into our unique labor and birth preparation course, reach out to us at www.birthagni.com or scroll through all available prenatal and postnatal preparation classes. Thank you for listening, all in the spirit of birth, womanhood, and freedom. Remember, you got the power. This podcast is about physiological birth and does not offer or claim to provide medical knowledge or diagnosis. Starting a podcast with poor recording tools in the market? It was painful until I found Zencastr. Its high quality audio and video recording, along with the option of a backup, makes it super sturdy and a savior at times. With an easy to use dashboard and super convenient tools for advertising campaigns such as reels and videos, Zencastr is my comfort choice. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code BIRTHAGNI, BIRTHAGNI, and you will get 30% off of your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. You may also explore their free hobbyist plan to begin with.